All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for making the time to learn how to brace your core, how to properly hip hinge, and how to squat for your anatomy. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bekah Rottenberg. I'm the founder, head coach of Brave Endeavors, mountain bike skills and strength training. And the whole goal of Brave Endeavors is to help women feel empowered in their mind, body, and bike. But men are also welcome. But all the programming is geared towards women, and the men who tend to benefit and come to my programs tend to be on the very sensitive and sweet side. So my story is I raced professionally. I raced enduro for about 5 years. And I always had this thought of all I need to do to get better at mountain biking is mountain bike more, ride more, both on the road and on trails. And I didn't do any strength training while I was racing. I did do a lot of strength training when I was in college, where I played Division I lacrosse. And then when I graduated college, I felt like I was allergic to the gym. And the last thing I wanted to do was to be like moving weights around. I just wanted to be outside riding my bike. It wasn't until I moved to Hood River in 2014, where the winters are pretty harsh, that I couldn't ride year round and I got back into the gym. And all of a sudden, I started to feel so much stronger, so much more connected, not only on my bike, but just picking up a pencil off the floor or walking up a flight of stairs, like doing everyday activities. I felt so much stronger and more empowered in my body. And at that time, I wasn't a mountain bike coach. Fast forward a number of years, I've now been mountain bike coaching for almost 7 years and personal training. And so what I've seen is there's all these movements and mind, muscle, mind, body connections that if we have off the bike, we are so much stronger, so much more connected, so much more in control on the bike. But they're hard to learn while you're riding, balancing on two wheels, going over all this rocky, crazy terrain. So I've really kind of honed in on this sweet spot of strength training almost being like a magic pill of not only are we putting on muscle, which is like putting money in the bank for retirement, but it also helps us to ride stronger, longer, with more confidence and have more fun. So, and I have seen that not only for myself, but with so many women, and I've felt a couple of guys that I've worked with. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna go over how to brace your core, how to hip hinge, and then how to squat for your anatomy. So the first thing I actually want you to do is go ahead and make a fist. All right, now like make the strongest, tightest fist possible. Like no water can get in there. There isn't even any air. And then keep squeezing, max effort, and then relax. And what you probably just noticed is one that was relatively easy for you to do, right? Your brain very quickly was like, oh, I know how to make a fist. I know how to squeeze it really, really hard. And then as you kept doing it, it got a lot harder. Okay. So that's because we are very handsy humans, right? We're very well connected to our hands. But there's all these other parts of our body, all these other muscles that we have that we can't necessarily squeeze so hard like that on cue. So we want to learn how to do that with our core musculature. And think of it like a dimmer switch, where sometimes you want maximum bracing of your core, and sometimes you just need a little bit. Okay. So what we're gonna do first is go ahead and lay down on our back with our feet flat, knees up. And I want you to slide your hand underneath the small of your back. Okay. And now press down on that hand and then relax. And do that 4 or 5 times. So press down on your hand and then relax. Press down and relax. Down, relax. And what should be happening there is, one, you're engaging what I call your front side core, your front side core muscles. So you're using those, you're turning them on. And then the other thing you're actually doing while you do this is your hips are moving backwards. Okay, and so as cyclists, as people who want to start strength training, we want to have good awareness of our hips. So now what we're going to do is we just activated our front side core a little, but now we want that full activation. Okay, so I want you to take your fingers and actually push them into your sides below your ribs, so into that soft tissue there. And then think about bracing all the muscles around your spine, creating 360 degrees of pressure around your spine so that you feel pressure pushing into your fingertips. And you want to brace and then relax. Brace and relax. And when I say brace, I like to think of if preparing for impact. So if you were to get punched in the stomach, you're resisting that impact. This is not a drawing in. Okay, so we're not sucking our belly button in. We're also not extending the belly button out. We're getting strong and pressing out all around, except for straight up, right? So it's, if you can try to press out, which happens by flexing or bracing the abdominal area. Okay, so then what we're gonna do is add just a little bit of movement, and this is called the McGill crunch. And this is designed to activate, wake up your core and prepare to strength train, prepare for heavy deadlifts, prepare your spine to be protected. So we're staying in this position, and all I want you to do is unweight your head and your shoulders. And then come back down. So chin drives straight up towards the ceiling. You're unweighting head and really just the top part of your shoulders. And we're looking for that really strong core connection, bracing as we do this small movement. So I like to think of this as small movement, big engagement. So big flex and relax. Big flex and relax. And go ahead and do this 5-6 times. And again, having those fingers pressing in at the sides, feeling your muscles turning on, bracing for impact, so strong. And then by that 5th, 6th rep, if you're really bracing, you should feel fairly fatigued, like fairly tired, like maybe doing 3 more would be pretty challenging. Okay, so let's take a little break. Go ahead, windshield wiper those legs back and forth. And then what we're gonna do is add limb movement to this core bracing, because the function of our core is stabilization of the spine. We want to be able to move in all sorts of different directions. We want to be able to resist forces and keep our spine protected. So the stronger our muscles are between our shoulders and our hips, the more we can press or pull into things or push, drive down through our legs without being all loosey-goosey in our midsection. So let's add some limb movement. And these are called bird dogs. And again, when I first started doing this kind of stuff, I wasn't fully connected. Like I didn't know what sensations to look for. And that's another reason why I've become so passionate about this type of work, is it's so much more than just moving through the motions. It's about really feeling the correct muscle groups at the right time. Okay, so we're laying on our back. we have that small gap between the low back and the floor because that means your spine is in neutral. Okay, so arms are up, legs are up, and now extend the opposite hand and leg towards the floor, move slowly. And remember I talked about your core as like a dimmer switch, and sometimes we want full bracing, like full lights on. So you are bracing so strong, which means your hips are not moving at all. So we are not moving into that posterior pelvic tilt that we did initially. Hips stay nice and stable. Limbs move away from your center of mass as you brace your core. And I like to add what I call a braced breath here, where you're exhaling as your limbs move. And so in my build class, we'll do 20 of these, like 10 on each side as a warm-up. And by the end, if you're really getting your brain to turn on these muscles, it's pretty fatiguing. Okay, cool. So I want to give you a few exercises that you can practice to work on this core engagement. So we've just done two. Number one is that McGill crunch. Right, so here, lifting head and shoulders, bracing. Number two are the dead bugs, extending opposite leg and hand. And then number three is a bit more dynamic and really helps with your mountain biking. So go ahead, grab a dumbbell if you have it. And you're gonna stand up. I'll get over in a moment. All right, so you're standing up, you're holding your weight. Nice athletic stance. What you're gonna do here is throw, don't really throw, it's like a fake throw. Keep the weight in your hands, but send the weight one direction and your hips are gonna go the opposite direction. And you can make fun sound effects. Yeah. And so two things should be happening when you do this. Number one, our brains now are used to firing our core musculature. So that's happening pretty fast as we move this weight away from our center of mass. And then the other thing that's happening is you are practicing a weight shift of pushing something one direction and then weighting the opposite foot. And this translates directly into cornering on a mountain bike, where you lean the bike, you push the bike into the corner that you're going, and you send your weight on the outside. You send the weight opposite the way you want to go, and that's what allows us to lean the bike into the corner. So this is one of those things where as we build strength and then mind-muscle connection in a really safe environment, all of a sudden when we're out on the trail, it's like, oh, bam, I'm cornering with so much more stability because you're weighting the outside foot and it's just gonna happen naturally. And you're gonna be bracing that core, resisting forces. Okay, so that's a great exercise. We will do this in our build class also. I call it cornering core. And we'll do it for like 30 seconds. And whew, it's a killer workout. Okay, awesome. So that's how to properly brace your core. Oh, another time it's super helpful is when you are climbing up a really steep climb and you need every freaking ounce of muscle and power that you have in your legs. If you think really strong core, you're just going to drive through your glutes, your quads, and you're going to get up that hill. So that's another time that it's like full dimmer switch all the way on. And then other times when you're riding, It's like, oh, I need a little bit of core stability. So practicing that kind of mindset can be really helpful.